Hello, everybody. Tonight on the show, we have Dave Schuler. Dave is a good guy. I actually know him from college, correct?
Yeah, we've been friends a long time.
So, for you guys out there, you would probably mostly know him for his work on Memoirs of the Morbid, the first volume. You were one of the artists, one of the artists and one of the writers, actually. But you can also see him at a number of conventions in the area where you can pick up prints and shirts from him. And I believe you also have a website. Can you buy stuff directly off the website?
You can.
Okay. What's the URL?
It's uncouthbarbarian.com.
Uncouthbarbarian.com. I'm going to put it in the chat. Let's see what we have as far as comments. Joe Bachman stopped in. He said he's just dropping in to say hello. So Joe Bachman is the proprietor of the Indie Independent Creator Directory. Do you know what that is, Dave?
I've heard you mention it on a couple of your previous episodes.
Yeah. So basically, all that is he's trying to turn that into like the IMDb of not just comic book creators, but also board game creators, role playing game designers, that sort of thing. We also have Carl tonight. How you doing, Carl? And Carl's wife Donna, and my friend Marvin Wynn. Marvin and I went to ErieCon this weekend. He and I shared a booth, and it was definitely interesting.
Was it a good show?
No, 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 no. Very much the opposite. But it's funny. Everybody I'm hearing on social media is saying that Baltimore Con was terrible as well. So I don't know. Maybe just conventions um, aren't the thing right now. I don't know.
I mean, it could be that. It could be any number of reasons. I mean, was it bad weather that weekend? Because that could have played a huge role.
No, there was a Steelers game on Sunday, which is why probably why things kind of emptied out. Um, yeah, I don't know. I know you do a lot of conventions, and I'll finish up the comments here, and then we'll discuss that. Off, obviously, the lovely Angie Dudas is here.
Hey, Angie.
Um, yeah, she kind of has to watch, right? No, I'm just joking.
I mean, she's your social media person.
Right. So, you've done a lot of conventions. I'm assuming some of them good, some of them bad. Um, do you have any secret for figuring out how a convention is, whether it's going to be good or bad, before you go?
No. No, like there's depending on like what it is that you're selling. So like generally when I go, I'm selling prints and apparel and that kind of thing. So after many, many years, I figured out that Comic Cons, for the kind of like horror stuff that I usually do, don't work well for me personally.
Right.
But the those like alternative fleas, I know that Pittsburgh's got like the heavy metal parking lot, and like I'll be up at the Allenwood Night Market next month.
Yeah, I
And
need to figure out a way to get into that. I mean, I know it's more horror themed, but I do some horror.
uh, I I mean I think I don't know, it's like really, it's like just sort of like horror and alternate stuff. Like I think you're if you did a lot more like zombie superheroes and like that kind of thing, or just I don't know, like what that over the garden wall thingy, like that sort of stuff. I think you'd be good. But like it's a good time. Like I'm what I'm working on right now is a direct result of last Halloween, like the last one I did in October last year is
Yeah,
where
yeah. Angie actually joined you the last time. She was kind of like your wingman,
yeah,
if you want to call it that.
she did a wonderful job. She always does.
Yeah,
Much better salesman than I am.
yeah. Angie has this thing called charisma that, unfortunately, I have a medical condition where I was born without charisma.
See, I can get the charisma if I'm like feeling that energy. Like if it's like been a good show and there's lots of people and there's like lots of like good conversations and people coming up to the booth and like like getting stuff and talking, and then you can like really feel that energy and really lean into it. But if it's not there, like you got to force it, and sometimes I can and sometimes I can't.
Yeah, I think that that's a valid thing. I mean, I think it can sort of become uh, what's the word? Almost like a vicious circle, right? Where it's like, things aren't going well with the convention, so you start to get like a little bit down in the dumps, and then your attitude kind of affects how you interact with people. Um, I don't know. Do you have a recipe for that, or like a way to avoid doing that?
No, not really. The I've gotten lots of advice from like more like type A folks, like in the scene in the community, and the one thing they said is like you got to put it on. Like you don't if you want to sell, you have to put it on. You have to make people want to be there. Um, you need to engage, and if you can't engage, if you come off cold, then that's just gonna keep feeding back into itself. So I don't know like the recipe for not feeling that way. Yeah, I think it's a very human thing to do, but like that's the challenge.
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
man, I wish I had that I wish I had that recipe, because man, I work with the people that are like they're just like they don't stop. Like they don't know
So
that
according to Angie, she's cute and she's a girl, so she makes a good booth babe.
yeah, there you go.
Um, yeah, it definitely helps. Um, so Carla's saying our friend Michaela rarely sits down at conventions. Plus, she talks to people about other things, not just her books, and she
Yeah,
sells a lot more than I do.
yeah.
Um,
That's actually a really great point. I never sit down. I like unless like I cannot stand up anymore. I'm always standing. I remember working retail, and they're like, you always gotta stand, you always gotta stand." And I thought it was like the biggest crack of bullshit in the world, but it actually does help. Now I care a lot more because it's my stuff, and I'm selling my things that like I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into, and not Gatorade, but
yeah,
but they're right. It does work. Standing up does work. Engaging about other stuff. Like I've had whole conversations with people just about like cartoons. Like people, I can't tell you how many times people have seen like I have a drawing of Skeletor, and people talk to me all the time about Skeletor. And I haven't watched a ton of He-Man. Like I've watched like a little bit. I watched the new one that came out on Netflix. That was pretty okay.
yeah. I was
Um,
gonna say I don't know how much there is to talk about Skeletor. I mean, he's an interesting villain, but it's not like we're talking about the most three-dimensional character here.
no, it's a cartoon designed to sell toys, but like but just like just like engaging and hearing people and really having a dialogue, even if they don't buy anything. Like
Right.
then they then they remember you. Then they might look you up later, or like they remember you if you're at another show, and like they'll buy something later. Like you never know. Like I'm starting to have people come up and be like, oh yeah, I recognize you. Like I remember talking to you about like the Venture Brothers,
They
and like
recognize you from a police lineup.
yeah, just getting arrested all the time, all the time. If I'm not getting arrested, what am I doing with my day?
Oh, you know what? In your intro, I forgot to mention that you are working on a new comic book. Did you maybe want to take your phone and maybe show what you're working on?
Yeah, okay. I am working on a new book. This is
Let me make you big. Okay, there you go.
so this is the last page of chapter 2. I don't know how well you can see.
Cool.
So the book is going to be 48 pages, and it's going to be split up into 6 chapters. And
Six chapters or 6 issues?
six chapters.
Oh, okay, so he's
So
ambitious.
yeah, it's a well 6 chapters. Each chapter is 6 pages, right? Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. Each chapter is 6 pages, um, and it tells a story about a demon in hell who is he's a torturer in hell. He lives in the ninth circle where all the worst of the worst people go to, face their eternal damnation or whatever. And then he comes across a little girl, and she doesn't know why she's there, and he takes it upon himself to try to save her.
So okay, so let's start at the very beginning of this. So the name of this is Apostasy, which I thought was like apocalypse, but with pasta,
No,
but it's not.
no.
According to Dave, it's not. Um, but uh, but you said, what's the name of the author?
Um, the author's name is Nick, and he runs an independent comic book publisher called Unearthly Comics, and I believe they are out of Texas.
Cool. So okay, so you said it's 6 chapters, 6 pages per chapter. I'm not great at math, but that means what? 32 pages
Uh,
total?
48. Six times 8 is 48.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you said okay. Sorry, I thought you said 6 and 6. So okay, so
Oh, I'm okay. I messed up. Eight chapters, 6 pages each chapter.
okay,
Yeah. Okay. That's my bad. I did the bad math.
okay. So 8. Okay, and uh, I mean, has this been going pretty smoothly? Are you struggling with it? How's it going?
I mean, the comic itself was doing pretty okay. The only thing I struggle with is finding time to do it.
Yeah.
Between
So for those of you who don't know Dave, I mean you have a full time job and you have a daughter, a relatively young daughter. How old is she now? 2.5, 3?
now she's 3, full
Wow.
on 3-year old doing full on 3-year old things.
And I just found out before the show started, you just got a new kitten.
Yeah.
So
Mr. Franklin Delano Bluth.
so his name is Franklin. Does he go by Frank? Does he go by Franklin?
We're just calling him Frankie. I don't know. Lydia named him. So Lydia's my daughter. And so she decided that his name was going to be Frank. We don't know why. There's nothing that she watches that has a Frank in it.
So you kind of came up with the Franklin Delano part,
Okay, that's a reference. So
right?
our other cat is named Maybe, and that's a reference to Maybe Bluth.
Yeah, I mean, I figured that out, but
Yeah, or I'm sorry, maybe Funke, and then so Franklin. We don't know where that came from, but there's a part later in the series where Job has this really racist puppet called
right,
Franklin Delano Bluth.
right. Yes, possibly the greatest TV show of all time, or at least up there.
I love that show. We need to do a rewatch soon.
Yeah, you can skip uh, the Netflix series.
Yeah, we generally do.
Um,
The remix wasn't terrible. I mean, there are some like funny parts in it, like the Method One clinic is still pretty funny.
all right, so I'm sorry. So we were I got off on a tangent there. We were talking about your upcoming comic. So the hardest part is finding time to do it in. So what are you averaging like about like one page a week?
Oh, not even depending on what's going on.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah, depending on like what's going on, like there are days like everything we get all shut down. Like I work on this for maybe about 2 or 3 hours a day, and I have watched seasoned comic book artists of 25 years say that they work on comics for 14 hours a day to meet up.
right.
So I wish I had 14 hours a day to do that.
Exactly. Hey, I mean, I mean there are famous artists. I mean Tom Todd McFarlane hasn't put out a comic book that he drew in like 20 years. So,
Doesn't he manage this company though? Like McFarlane Toys, or did that get bought out by somebody?
no, I believe he still runs that. But my point is I don't know what my point was. I guess my point was, I mean, slowly but surely, right?
Oh yeah, no, this will get done. Like I'm really excited about the story. It's a lot of fun to draw. It's got a really interesting twist. Um, I think he does a good job in such a short amount of time, like making you care about the characters. And he kind of gave me free reign to design some of the demons and stuff. So I am I'm really excited to get to those parts.
I mean, is he happy with the work so far?
Oh yeah. Um, Here, I'll show you one of my favorite pages.
Yeah,
None of
show
these
some more art.
none of these pages are so this is one of my favorite pages in chapter 2. It's not 100% done. I have to do like finishing splatters and white ink and stuff like that. But boom.
Cool. So this is the not this guy, but the guy at the bottom was the main character, the demon.
Yeah, the guy who's like on the phone, who's so the guy who's yelling at him in his office, that's his boss. And the guy on the phone, like with the horn mask or whatever, that's the main character.
Oh, so even demons have bosses.
Yeah. But this comic kind of presupposes that, like the demon world is like Any other world, they go to work, they do their job, they go home.
Right.
I know, like that's been done before, but I like that. I like that juxtaposition.
Right.
Got a very it's got a very like Greek underworld kind of tone to it. They're just kind of there. They're just kind of there to do what they have to do.
So how did you meet this guy? I'm sorry, I forget his name. Now you said his
Uh,
name was Nick.
Nick, yeah, he actually came up to the booth at Allentown. Like he just happened to be in Pittsburgh, and he went to the night market, and he came up to the booth, and he was looking at the Morbids, the Morbids, the comic
Oh,
that I
cool.
sell, and he liked what he saw, and he goes, "Would you be interested in doing something like a whole like book?" And I said, "Yes, yes, I would." And
That's
like,
awesome.
yeah, and I didn't actually think that I would like hear back, but I did. Like I got an email. We got to talking. He's a really good guy. He's got other published works. If you look up Unearthly Comics, like he's got other horror comics that he put out. I think one is a slasher called Gator Man Kills, and yeah, so he's been like really great to work with. Like I like the script. It's been good. It's been good so far.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at his website right now. So his name is Nick Edwards. I don't think you mentioned that, but yeah, if you go to the website Unearthly Comics, he has a lot of stuff on here. Um, he seems pretty busy.
Yeah, yeah. He's always going to comic book shops and doing signings and stuff. It kind of reminds me of you, and you go along and be like, oh yeah, I'm over here in Oakland just signing comics. Come on down.
Yeah, I mean it's good to stay busy. I think I was a little bit too busy this summer. I think this next year we're not going to do as many conventions. Um, I mean, I think there was one point where I did like 6 conventions in the space of like 7 weeks, and that's just too much to do.
Yeah, I feel you. I've done more shows this year than ever before, and there's always a like it's it's not just like, oh, you got to prepare for the show, but it's all then it's like, well, you got to prepare for the show, but you should probably also have some new stuff too. So I should make new shirts or make new prints or make new art, to new stickers or whatever to sell. But then there's also this is like this ongoing project which needs to get done so it can get published and get the Kickstarter going.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. So you're still doing other art on top of your job, on top of taking care of your daughter, on top of the new kitten. You're also doing other art that you sell at these conventions.
Yeah, can't be stagnant.
So basically, you don't have. I'm guessing you don't have a lot of free time.
Yeah, or like I take I use my free time at and just go, well, this is not going to get made, and that's it. No one's going to get hurt if I don't make a new sticker. So
Yeah, true. I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess I feel like I don't know if it's the same way for you, but for me, I kind of feel like making comics is both kind of part of my job and also kind of um, like a hobby as well. So, I mean, that's kind of what I do in my free time.
oh yeah, for sure. there's always like a part where like, I feel like I'm always working, but like it's the goal is make it sustainable, you know?
Right.
And even that comes with its own like challenges, especially here in the good old US of A.
Right. Did I see you said something on Facebook? You have a new job?
Yeah. Yeah, just got a new design job.
Oh, cool. And so how is that going so far?
So far so good. So trying to like feel out. It's very, very different than anything I've ever experienced before. It's not a bad thing, but just a different thing.
That's good. So now, do you think that you'll do other projects that are kind of um, where you're the writer and the artist, or did you not really enjoy writing the comic book for?
No, I really did enjoy the writing of the comic book. I've actually had ideas for future for future issues of Morbid or like my own stuff. You know, you'll be happy to hear that like if I ever jump onto another issue of Morbid, the story I have in mind is like 8 pages or 6 pages. Like it's really short. Like, but I will throw. Of course, me being me, I will throw you a curveball because I have this stupid idea. Like, what if they're all 2-page spreads? The whole thing.
Yeah. So what Dave's referring to is that on the first Memoirs of the Morbid, it like that was like the probably the biggest argument. Like, I mean, it wasn't a huge argument, but I kept saying, this story could be shorter, and you kept saying like, no, I want to make it 15 pages.
That I did.
So I'm gonna take a look, see if there are any more comments. I think Don Don kind of slipped in through the back door. She was under the impression that it was Tuesday, which is okay. It's better late than never, right?
We forgot. Too late.
And Carl is saying, you never know what context you will make, I guess, which I think that's a good point. When we go to these conventions, um, you don't always make very much money. Sometimes it's hard to break even, and even when you do break even, you make enough money to buy dinner after the convention. But the good news is that sometimes these events can be good for networking.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know it's not comic book related, but I have some friends that like they have an apparel store. Actually, I'm repping one of their shirts tonight. They're they're called X-Ray Art. They're friends of mine. They're really cool folks, and they went to a trade show out in Vegas, and but the whole point of those trade shows isn't really to sell as much as it is to network and get contracts,
Okay.
which they did. Like they got some contracts to like sell some of their stuff out in like Seattle or whatever.
Ah, okay.
So like so yeah, like that's the whole point. Like sometimes like I walked out of Allentown because that was like last October. There was this terrible rainstorm all day,
Oh, geez.
and
And this was an outdoor event.
well, outdoor and indoor. So like I always do the indoor one because I deal in paper. So I'm
Yeah.
always there's like I've got the whole setup for an outdoor show, but man, that just kicks my anxiety into fifth gear. Um,
Yeah.
So I always opt for the indoor show, but even the indoor show, like, it was raining and it was cold and gross, and they got half of what they usually get in terms of like people coming. And I guess it was still like a good show for some. And I got, and I talked to the person who runs it. She was like, "Oh no, your first one's during the monsoon. I'm so sorry." But like, because of the contact, because I met Nick and doing this comic and stuff, even though like that money is not in my pocket because I'm still working. That's the best show I've ever done, ever, because
Right.
because of this contract. So like, so sometimes having the money not necessarily being in your pocket that day isn't as important.
Right. Fair enough.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. Yeah. I mean, outdoor shows or indoor slash outdoor shows can be tough. I mean, especially in Pittsburgh. Because for those of you who've never been to Pittsburgh, it rains a lot in Pittsburgh. Huh?
Sure does.
I didn't know that that's how you met Brian.
But no.
Oh, I was talking to
Ah.
Carl. Um, Brian K. Morris is a mutual friend of ours.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. I remember Brian from
that's right. You worked. Well, you didn't really work with him. You worked kind
I,
of congruent.
I remember the meetings. So like, yeah.
So Don is saying, plant the seed. Maybe the next time you're at a con, they will recognize you.
Yeah.
Make rapport with folks.
Yeah. Like good rapport, like have a good conversation, and if nothing happens then like maybe they'll remember you next time. Especially if you're like you're sort of in that circuit and you're just kind of around and people start to see you and they start to recognize you. And so maybe they don't buy anything from you the first couple times, but eventually they might go, you know what, I've seen him. I'll check it out. I'll throw some money at this guy.
Well, another thing that I do, I don't. Do you have a newsletter?
No, no, I don't have a newsletter. I probably should, but
I mean, that's something that I do. I have a sheet of paper where I write down people's email addresses because, I mean, I don't know. I mean, who knows during the grand in the grand scheme of things, who knows how many of those newsletters actually end up getting read? I mean, I think most of them probably just go into the spam folder. But I mean, it's a good way to keep people updated about what's going on with you.
yeah, I mean, like there's that. There's also like there's the social media rules, which like I know them. I don't follow them, but I know them.
What social media rules? You mean like?
For like engagement, for like so like you're really supposed to post at least once a day, optimally twice a day, and you're supposed to not just post pictures but post video and really engage with your stories and really try to engage with people in comments to get to kind of beat the algorithm, the ever changing algorithm. And that in itself can be a full-time, like a full-time gig.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, there's only so many hours. There's only so many hours in any given day. Um, I mean, you said you're supposed to comment. You're supposed to post twice a day. Jesus Christ, I have no idea what I would talk about. Um,
And like that, I get in my head that way too. Like, well, what am I supposed to post? The same thing a million times? And sometimes the answer is yes. Yes, you do. You post in progress stuff, or you post things that maybe you posted something a month ago and you post it again because the people coming didn't necessarily see what you posted a month ago.
Yeah.
And they, like, so like from my perspective, I'm like, well, this is repetitive and no one wants to see this. But it doesn't necessarily work that way. So you got to get out of that mindset, which
Well,
once again is a formula that I have not mastered.
well, I think the idea is if you post, two things a day, chances are people aren't going to see both of those posts. But you know, okay, two posts a day, that's 14 posts a week. Maybe of those 14 posts, the average person will see two or three of them.
Right.
So that's, I mean, I guess that's the thought process between saying twice a day.
Yeah, but you have to post. Like you have to be engaged, and like that's the key is engagement. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. And it really kind of depends on. Like I know people who do just that and they get nowhere with it, and then I know people who do that and the right people see it and the right people share it, and all of a sudden like they've blown up. There's that happened with a guy that I know. I guess a guy I'm acquainted with. He goes by Dave Ruin's art, and he got shared by somebody incredibly famous. And I for life me can't remember like who this like guy is, but he shares a lot of like stories about science and art and that kind of thing. And yeah, he saw his thing. He shared him on TikTok, and from there he just blew up.
Hmm.
One of those few situations where like wow, this actually like happened to like a really really great guy, and like I'm really really happy for him.
So Carl is saying he posts jokes sometimes, like he has a humor page, and so yeah, so it doesn't have to all be promoting. Um, that's maybe something that I could work on too. Yeah, I don't know about you, but I don't feel like I'm necessarily good at social media marketing. Um, I feel like it's one of those things like there are people who are naturals at it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, like there's folks that they really like the spotlight, and you know if you like the spotlight, then you're gonna post, you're gonna share, you're gonna you know talk in your stories and do all that, do that kind of stuff. I am not like that, so I have to like really think about it to do it. And some weeks I'm really good at it, and some weeks I'm not. And these like last 3 weeks, I've not been, and I'm seeing it. I'm watching my follower count go down. I'm watching my engagement go down, and that's it's
I,
gotta get out of that mindset.
I think you're roughly the same age as I am. I think you're maybe like a year or two younger than me.
Yeah,
Um, but um, I mean, I think if we had graduated like maybe a year or two later, we would have learned a little bit more about social media marketing. Because I remember, like, right as I was graduating, they were talking about, like, hey, you might want to get a Twitter page because, people are getting hired uh, based on, what they're posting on Twitter. Um, and yeah, in the last couple years. Well, especially since the invention of Kickstarter, um, it's become part of the job,
yeah,
right?
yeah, very much.
it's just one more thing you have to worry about. I mean, I think about that sometimes. I think about the fact that, like, Jack Kirby didn't have to worry about this stuff. You know what I mean?
Tom McFarlane didn't have to worry about this stuff.
I mean, Jack Kirby just drew his 3 pages a day, and then he went to bed. He went to bed at like 6 o'clock in the morning. Um, that was the one thing that I remember in his or not his autobiography, but in his biography that I thought was funny. He would draw all night, and before he would go to bed, he would go up and have breakfast with his kids before they went to school, and then he'd go to bed.
Hmm. I don't know if I could do that. I remember working third shift, and it messed me up, man.
Well, I've been working these concerts lately, and it can sometimes be hard because people don't think about the fact that, oh, if a concert ends at 11 p.m., that means the people working behind the scenes, that means they have to start working at 11 to tear down this concert. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and I'm sure that takes hours to do.
Yeah. Well, I did this Aerosmith concert, and it was kind of ridiculous, to be honest with you. It was just like it was just very overly, like, the stage setup was very overly elaborate. And it was also the fact that, like, the boss, like, it was a 2-day show. They designed it to be a 2-day show, and then the bosses were like, "Let's see if we can cut it down to 1 day," which is always fun.
Can you do all this extra work at the last minute? Thanks.
I mean, I think that's something else that I've learned as I've gotten older is that, I mean, shit takes the amount of time that it takes. You know what I mean? Like, there's really no way to make 5 hours worth of work. There's no way to turn 5 hours worth of work into 4 hours. Um, and obviously, I'm not just talking about the concert work. I'm also talking. Um, oh, Don is saying they had to postpone it. It's probably because, like, they were trying to get it from a 2-day show to a 1-day show, and they weren't able to do it. Because when I left and went home, uh, uh, they were like, "Yeah, can you come back in tomorrow?" And I was like, "No, I just worked a 12-hour day. I'm not gonna get up tomorrow and do it again."
No, Doug, but thanks though.
I did not hear that, Don, but I am not at all surprised, considering that um, um, it that tour was kind of a shit storm. Oh no, it has nothing to do with that. Apparently, he injured his vocal cords. Huh. Okay. Sorry. Enough talk about Aerosmith. This is not an Aerosmith tribute.
The Aerosmith tribute hour with Grant Lincoln.
Right. Um.
This is where he talks last bitch about Aerosmith for an hour and a half.
Right. So you do have other ideas for comic books, for stuff that you're going to work on after um, you finish apocalypse
Apostasy.
apostasy. Um,
I mean, part of that is hoping that there's a sequel to the Apostasy.
oh, okay. Have you talked to the writer about that yet, or?
I have, but like right now we're just focusing on this one.
Right.
Like I've sent him some ideas, but we're focusing on the thing that thing is that actually is getting in production. And not get too ahead of ourselves.
I mean, did he leave room for a
Oh,
sequel?
oh yeah, oh yeah, he did.
I mean, you don't have to get like too like don't give anything away.
No, I'm not giving anything away, but just to say that yeah, he absolutely did leave room to for the story to continue.
Cool. So, and you've been getting, I don't know, is it a good creative working relationship? Like, do you guys like how does he like? Is it a really in depth script, or is it like more? Does he give you like a lot of leeway?
He's given me. I got like a solid script. The whole thing is written out. But sometimes like I'll make suggestions, or I'll be like, "Hey, I think I can split these. I think it would be like more dramatic if I could split these panels into like two panels instead of just one."
Cool.
And so like so I always pitch like if I have an idea, but he's always like really receptive. So like it's a really good working relationship.
So he's open to you making changes, or
Yeah, but I mean,
maybe
I'm not trying to make. I like what he's done. I'm not really interested in making a ton of changes. Sometimes just like framing. Um, I think about like comics and stuff. I always I appreciate comics that are more cinematic than comic book.
okay,
So like I know that like Alan Moore like to do that.
right. So are these like very in depth scripts? Like,
Um,
give you a lot of description, like
yes and no. Like he left some room for me to design to like have some fun with it. Like he gave me a really base description, and he just sort of let me design the characters.
cool. And you've been enjoying doing that?
Yeah, yeah, it's been big fun.
So I mean, it's because this takes place like in hell, or at least a lot of it does. I mean, you can get pretty creative, I'm assuming, with the demons.
Oh yeah, yeah. The like some of the I've gotten a description of like the demons that he's gonna face and like the demons he interacts with, and some of that stuff like I changed, and I pitched it to him, like and if he said no, then that no is what it is because he's a writer. So
Okay.
I'm always gonna default to him and his vision. But he's liked everything I've given him.
So now, do you do research into what like demons like from the Bible, or are you just pretty much using your creativity?
I'm just using my creativity. Like one of the things that I've really been researching is like demon architecture.
Demon architecture.
Okay, so I'm building what has been presented as a society, a demon society, right? So
Right.
demons have to live somewhere. Is it all fire and brimstone, or do they live in apartments? Do they have houses? What are their lives? What are their lives like? There's dialogue in the comic about them, like there's offhand dialogue about them like going to a party. So like obviously there's like are there nightclubs? Just society. Society, stuff to do, places to go. What does that look like through like a demon lens?
Oh,
And
interesting. So is there actually, I mean, is there actually stuff in the Bible about like where demons live?
no, no, the Bible, everything about demons that we really know is sort of comes through. It's like Bible fan fiction.
Yeah, isn't that funny? Like there's a lot of stuff that people think is in the Bible and it really isn't. I mean, the
No,
same thing's true about angels. where does it say in the Bible that angels have like blonde hair and wings and stuff like that and like wear robes and stuff?
It doesn't. But what it does say is that like the angels have like seven wings and rings covered with eyes, and
Right.
yeah, like these like crazy ridiculous things. You ever look up like biblical angels? Like they're monsters, and
Right.
they come down and go, "Be not afraid" or something. Um,
Right. Yeah. That's why the first thing they say is "Be not afraid" because they all look like monsters, right? Yeah.
yeah. So like, no, a lot of that stuff comes from Dante. A lot of that stuff comes from like writings from like old like cardinals or like people in the Catholic Church from back in the day. It's all fan fiction. It's biblical fan
Right.
fiction.
Yeah, like I mean, a lot of times it would be like, this stained glass window maker, like a church would hire them to make a stained glass window, and they'd be like, "All right, put an angel on it," and the stained glass window maker would say, "Well, what does an angel look like?" And the priest would say, "I don't know, figure it out." And like, yeah, like you said, it's funny some stupid artist, it took him like 30 seconds to figure out, oh, maybe angels have wings. And now, you know, 600 years later, if you ask anybody, what does an angel look like? They say, oh, they have wings.
Yeah, but no one says they have seven wings.
Right.
Unless you go to like unless you look at the alternative artists and stuff. There's tons of that. Like I've noticed a ton of like biblical angels because like they're just ridiculously monstrous. So, which
That
like
would be
I'm,
that would be a neat idea for a comic book. I wonder, has anybody ever sat down and done a comic book version of Dante's Inferno?
oh, I'm sure. I couldn't say, I can't say for sure, but I would be very surprised if something like that didn't exist somewhere.
I mean, I guess the real question is, I mean, I'm sure somebody has done it. The question is whether or not it's good or not. Um,
That's true.
but
Hey, there you go. There's a thought for your next work.
Dante's and I'm looking up Dante's Inferno comic book now. Oh, see, this looks like. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, okay, this is in a foreign language. I don't know. Yeah, like you said, I'm sure somebody has done Dante's Inferno, but whether it's good or not, um, that's the real question, right?
Remains to be seen. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think Dante's Inferno is public domain. I
Oh,
think.
yeah. I mean, public domain. I think is just 70 years. It's not 70 years after they wrote it. I think it's 70 years after the author dies.
Or like, yeah, that, or like something to do with like if the copyright expires or something like that.
I mean,
I
Conan
don't
the
know.
Barbarian is
I,
public domain now. Did you know that?
yeah. Oh yeah, I think I did hear that.
Is that crazy or what to think? Like anybody who wants to can make a Conan the Barbarian. I mean, Superman's going to be public domain in a couple years, but I mean, obviously Warner Brothers has billions of dollars, so they're not going to.
No, no, they're not. No, they got to keep that Superman money. They got to keep their Batman money. People aren't going to go see the Blue Beetle, I suppose.
Did you see it?
I didn't.
I didn't see Blue Beetle. I was excited about it until I saw the trailer, and the
It
trailer didn't look that exciting.
I mean, it looked interesting. Like I've always liked that version of the Blue Beetle suit.
Yeah.
I remember that like debuted back in the early 2000s.
We saw we saw the Ninja Turtle movie, which was good.
Oh
Did you?
that looked like it was big fun. That Mutant Mayhem.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. I wanna we Lydia's at that age. We're starting to introduce her to stuff. So like she's she's all too happy to watch Star Trek with us,
Really?
which makes me very very happy. She refers to it as ships. She gets very excited about it. So
So
that makes
is she? I can't remember what the name of the show was that you didn't like. Um, it was like the guys from Sesame Street going around like with superpowers or something.
Oh, right. Okay. That's a weird one. That's called Sesame Street Mecha Builders, where they've turned Elmo, Abby Cadabby, which is like a little fairy, and Cookie Monster into robots who live in like um they live in like a city, or sometimes they're on a farm, and like and they just like have to save the day doing really stupid shit. She hasn't watched that in ages, but she will watch Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Well, that's good. So she's starting to get into stuff that you can watch with her.
Oh yeah, like she's got she really loves the intro. She really likes the Voyager intro. We can find that on YouTube and like play that.
And she can follow all the storylines and stuff.
No, she's there for the ships. I
Right.
mean, like I remember when I watched it when I was a little kid. Like I wasn't there to see what the turmoil Jean-Luc Picard is having after he got assimilated by the Borg. I just wanted to see the exterior of the Big D.
You know what's funny? When I was a kid, my brother and I used to play Star Trek, and we would just like chase each other around the yard and shoot each other with like our make believe phaser guns. But in reality, on the show, they didn't really shoot the phasers very often.
Oh no, no, like they always do. They always beam down with the Dustbuster Club, but like they never. Yeah, they're not like firing off phasers like all the time. Interestingly enough, like Lydia also really enjoys playing with my lightsaber. So we thought, oh, maybe she'll like watching Star Wars. That's another ship. Those like there's so many more ships in Star Wars. Lots of action. And she fought us tooth and nail and didn't make it through the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like we showed her A New Hope, and my wife's like, well, maybe we should just show her Jedi. I mean, it's always just following the plot, and she might like the teddy bears.
Yeah, I was gonna say Ewoks are pretty cute.
Yeah, so like we might try that. Also, like Luke's got the green lightsaber, and that's the lightsaber I have is the green one because the green one is the coolest.
Right.
I mean, even though even though like I'm the biggest fan of Empire, I do really love that green lightsaber.
Yeah.
As a kid whose favorite color was green, I was very excited.
Yeah, I don't remember when I first watched Star Wars, but the weird thing is I remember watching them in theaters, which like as far as like the timeline goes doesn't make sense.
Did you watch the re-releases, the
Yeah,
ones they put
I
out in the
think
'90s?
well not even I think not even like the official re-releases. I think back in like the 70s and 80s, they would sometimes re-release like before the invention of like the VCR, they would sometimes just re-release movies into theaters like that hadn't been in theaters for a while. And I think that's when I saw them because like if I remember going to see Star Wars in a movie theater, I had to have been at least like 6 or 7, or maybe I don't know, maybe not. Who knows? But like, I mean, I don't know.
I remember seeing them in theaters, but it was when they re-released them back in like '97 or something. But
Yeah.
I remember going to see them. Like when I was a little kid, though, I would go over to my grandparents' house, and they had the original VHSs. So like they didn't say episode 1 or 2 or 3. They just said A New Hope, um, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. Then that's it. And man, I wish I could have gotten my hands on those. They're worth a lot of money.
So
But
somebody was telling me that the reason why they haven't reissued like the original movies is because somehow George Lucas wrote that into his contract with Disney that they weren't allowed to re-release like the non-special edition uh Star Wars movies,
I have
which
I have no idea. But that sounds like a George Lucas move to me.
which is maybe the pettiest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
Oh, okay. So have you watched A New Hope on like Disney Plus at all?
Uh-uh.
So we watched it. They cut out the part where Luke, like where Leia kisses Luke for luck or whatever. Like they just cut it. It's gone.
So I thought all of these movies were in the National Film Registry, which means that they're you're not supposed to be allowed to like fuck with them like that.
I have no idea.
I mean the national okay, so I mean if you don't know what the National Film Registry is, it was a thing that was started back in like the 1980s because people were trying to colorize these movies. So and like everybody was really mad that they were trying to colorize black and white movies. So they started this thing called the National Film Registry where
It's a
they
lot, Ted Turner.
yeah. So but it was like okay, these there are certain movies that are like of cultural significance that you can't you can't just fuck with them, you know what I mean? And I don't understand why them doing all this crazy stuff to the movies. I mean, obviously I'm not necessarily opposed to them cutting out the scene where Luke kisses Leia because I remember even when I was a kid I thought that was kind of creepy. But
Yeah, but I mean, like, I know, like, the original plan, like, he had this whole plan of, like, what he wanted to do. And Leia wasn't supposed to be his sister. There's going to be a whole movie. He has to go find his sister. And, then he got divorced and got sick of making Star Wars movies.
yeah, I mean it definitely felt like he was setting up the idea that Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker were gonna like fall in love. Um, and then they didn't obviously they didn't continue with that because they turned out to be brother and sister. But like I mean, even like in the first one, Luke and Leia are kind of like flirtatious. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But like I mean, it definitely didn't feel like they were setting up Han and Princess Leia. But
Yeah. So, I don't know, like, if I necessarily opposed to them cutting it out. It was just weird. It was just weird to be like, okay, I guess they cut this out. Whatever.
I mean, there are other changes that I have way more problems with. Um, I mean, my biggest problem is actually I don't like the scene where like Jabba the Hutt is like interrogating Han Solo, like in the first one. That to
Oh
me,
yeah,
that
yeah.
to me feels like totally out of character.
Bad CGI like Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah,
But see, that's what I saw in theaters. That was that 1997. They re-released them all because they were gearing up to put out the Phantom Menace. So like they re-released like all the old Star Wars films with updated CGI, and that was like this cut scene, and like Jabba was just supposed to be like a dude or whatever, and then obviously that's not what happened, so they had to fix it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it didn't look great then. It doesn't look great now. It's just sort of this weird, like, disjointed extra scene. But at this point, it's been in for so long that like there's whole generations of the kids like that don't know anything else. So whatever, nothing we can do about it now.
Nothing we can do about it now. Well, I hope our nerd talk hasn't put anybody to sleep yet. Um,
see, this is what happens when you don't script anything.
yeah, but I try to keep these to about an hour. So thank you everybody for listening. Did you have like your social media that you wanted to plug?
um, really, just follow me on the socials. Like, do don't mind if I'm silent for a few weeks. I will always try to post stuff on my stories and stuff. Come out and see me. That the next time I'll be in Pittsburgh is at that Allentown Night Market, which is a really good scene. Like it's really cool.
That's right. You texted me about that. Do you want to go to? Do you want to go to that same cheeseburger joint, or do you want to see what else is
But
around?
let's see what else. I know the whole family was going to be there, so we can we'll time
Oh, right. So what does Lydia like to eat?
hot dogs.
Hot dogs. Okay.
I don't know. It depends on the day. Lydia's a cheese fiend. She likes cheese.
She likes cheese. I mean, who doesn't like cheese, right?
I mean, I love cheese, but my body doesn't. So you know, that's a constant fight. Cheese is the best, though. You ever get a chance, go to Grandpa's Cheese Barn. It's amazing.
Grandpa's Cheese Bar
Grandpa's Cheese Barn.
Barn.
It's in Ashland, Ohio, and it is just cheese. It's like meat and cheese, and like it literally like in a small barn, and it's just coolers of cheese, all kinds of cheese that I've never even dreamed of, and it's there. Like we tried like it was like an apple. So it was like it's kind of like a lighter cheese with like chunks of apple in it. It was interesting. I wouldn't call it bad, but I don't know. I don't know if I would eat it. But it would be definitely something interesting on a charcuterie board.
That sounds amazing.
So yeah, go live your cheese fantasies at Grandpa's Cheese Barn. Also, they have ice cream and like good sandwiches.
Sounds good to me.
I am not being paid for this plug. But if they would like to pay me, that would be a-okay.
Dude, a place that sells like mostly cheese, you don't really even have to like convince me. But with that, I'm gonna call it a night. Thank you so much, Dave.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Sorry if I bored anybody.
Like I said, I'll see you when you come to the night market in a few weeks.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing you guys.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a great night.
Have a good night, everyone.